Bienvenidos, señores y señores, to another episode of the Bleed Lows podcast. Estamos en vivo in the carne asada. This episode of the Bleed Lows podcast is brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. From the preseason NFL to college kicking off, Bet Online has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. So you think you know your stuff? Get in on our winner-take-all 300,000 NFL survivor pool for the upcoming season. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on the game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today and use the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, to get in on the action. Bet Online. The game starts here. Bienvenidos, Sangrones. I can see the usuals are already on. Alfonso, Nando, Michael Negrete. We're joining us on the live today, ladies and gentlemen. Let's welcome back the OG, the original, your guys' favorite. That's right. La Princesa de Picolandia. By the way, Princesa, you're looking very bronze. What's been going on? Where you been?
It's summer and I'm in Southern California, baby. We've got the best weather in the entire country. So I try to stay outside as much as I can. Don't get mad, Cody. That's no disrespect to you. I'm kidding. No, but I do. I've been bike riding, hiking, petting other people's dogs. Like I just love to be outside.
And she's got the las trenzas de poder tonight, ladies and
Right.
gentlemen. So we're also joined by the gambler. Carlos is here. And of course, the master Canelo. Canelo, I feel like there's gonna be a lot of energy coming from you tonight. Are you heated, Canelo? Tell me the truth. Are you heated?
I'm more passive aggressive. It's like I kind of saw it coming before it actually happened, and good thing I was at work. I was just doing things at my desk, and I got to tune out of the game before it all unfolded, and then I went back to my computer and saw what happened. But I don't know. At the end of the day, yes, I'm still a fan, but I think me and you kind of just hold this team to a higher standard. I don't know. And it's like now I kind of know who they are. This is who they are. This is who I accepted them until they
They
prove me
are who we
wrong.
thought they were, Canelo. They are who we thought they were.
But yeah.
Okay, so you guys that are on the live, if we have any new people, you guys know how this works. Throw your comments in the chat. If you want to head to the front of the line, make sure you drop a super chat. That'll move you to the front. Also, the Danny Duffy Award. If you guys have nominees for the Danny Duffy Award, make sure you guys are throwing them out there. For those of you who are new, who are not aware of what the Danny Duffy Award is, the Danny Duffy Award goes to whoever catches the most strays on the live. I'm a multiple-time winner of the Danny Duffy Award. Very proud. I think it was a couple weeks ago, Clayton Kershaw won his first Danny Duffy Award. It seems like we already have nominees for the Danny Duffy Award. Michael Negrete chiming in. So, all right. Let's start first. Okay, I think we already got Dennis Gonzalez. First nominee for the Danny Duffy tonight is Dave Roberts. So let's just start with the Brewers series. Okay, the Dodgers ended up splitting the series in Milwaukee. The series started off great. They won the first two games, and then, like the Dodgers season this year, it took a left. Princesa, I know you want to show off your vocabulary, but what happened in Milwaukee?
From what I gather, they just laid down and died in the ninth inning. I don't know. They out-hit the Brewers. They were on track to win both games. And so to go out like that I can see letting the air out of, your balloon. It's just like, why? What happened? And it was our top of the lineup that just laid down and died. So there was that. I'm not going to panic yet, though. Juan, if anything, I do listen when you say it's going to be okay. No pasa. Like it's going to be okay. And I try to tell my friends and family that just we're going at it the whole game. And at the end of the game, it's like fiercer and urgent, and they're probably out there still drinking. I don't know. I just know that it was disheartening. And the cut, the way that we're now, the Dodgers are, I say we, now that the Dodgers are only 2 games ahead of those pesky Diamondbacks and Padres, and then their schedule. I mean, I could just keep going and depressing myself even more, but that's what I believe happened. Do you guys disagree or agree or?
I will say this, Princesa, I don't know anymore if they're going to be okay because this has been a 500 team since June. At this point, you bring out the old Bill Parcells. You are what your record says you are. And they've been playing. I know people will bring up the injuries, but the show pods and the Serpientes, they're not playing 500 baseball. Both of those teams have almost erased an 8-game lead since the All-Star game. And I don't see any signs that they are going to slow down. The Serpientes did this last year. This is exactly what the Serpientes did in the second half last year. They turned things on and they were able to ride it, to the World Series. So I just don't know what to expect. Carlos the Gambler, I want to go to you. I have this question for you because you, like the Princesa, like to be positive. But when I hear Jerry Hairston in the post game today say that Daniel Hudson looks tired and that his misses that were right over the plate, or the reason why he's missing so much, is because he is tired. Daniel Hudson hasn't pitched in 2 days. So, Carlos, you're the optimistic one. How do you cure being tired towards the end of the season? Does this mean that he's going to be, when Brasier gets activated this weekend, that Daniel Hudson is a candidate to get tapped on the shoulder and be like, hey, you broke your arm? I did? What did you see with Daniel Hudson, Carlos?
The answer is yes. He broke his arm. We talked about this, and we said that when these players start coming back, they're going to hit the IL. Trinan was the first one. We know he's not hurt, and he'll be back when his 10 days are up. Hudson needs a break. Last 7 games, his ERA is 6.75. Last 7 games. So, yeah, the guy's not cutting it. Today, that was an awful, it was like the 8th inning, 7th inning? Or it was 8th inning. We needed 6 outs. I still don't get why we're not. I mean, I know I feel like Roberts is working Kopech to get to the closer role, but we're still putting him in the 6th. I don't understand why we're not even putting him in the 8th, and that would help us a lot more. But yeah, Hudson is. I think he's pretty much. He needs a break. He needs a break, and he needs it quick. Otherwise, he's just going to keep allowing runs and blowing those leads. You were talking. You were asking Alicia about what's going on with the Dodgers. What happened in the last 2 games? Well, we're only scoring. We score early. We don't score the rest of the game. Maybe we score 1 or 2. Buehler, that was a tough outing for him. I mean, he got so lucky in that first inning, walking the bases loaded. And then Kiermaier has to make an awesome throw, like a perfect throw. And, hey, I'm glad they didn't call it. But Barnes, that was borderline blocking the plate. But, hey, sometimes you get the calls. And we got that call. And great throw, 99 miles per hour, right down, one hopper into Barnes. Great block, great out. But, if he doesn't make that throw, it could that inning could have unraveled. But too many pitches. He got 3 1/3, 86 pitches, 87 pitches. Buehler is not the guy. I'm watching MLB Network, and they're talking about Buehler being in the playoff rotation. Come on, we watch the Dodgers enough that this guy is not going to be in the playoff rotation. If they want to put him in the bullpen for maybe a 2-inning relief pitcher, then that's fine. But he's not the guy. And second, today's game, it was on Hudson. And who put Hudson there? Unfortunately, Dave Roberts. So right now, my definitely Danny Duffy award my vote right now goes to Dave Roberts, unless Cody or you can come up with somebody else that can change my mind.
Oh, I'm going to let Canelo go off. Canelo, I know you got opinions. You wrote, look, I think we're going to devote a whole segment to what's going on with Walker Buehler. Canelo wrote a great piece on what we should do with. It reminded me of Old Yeller. I started reading Old Yeller, and I thought, oh, wait a minute, no, this is Canelo writing about Buehler. But Canelo, the floor is yours, my friend. Unleash. Tell us the truth, Canelo.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to what you said. You are what your record says you are, and despite the Dodgers being one of the top teams record wise, it's a very mediocre season across all of baseball. It doesn't seem like there's really a dominant team, and that's when you should expect the Dodgers to take advantage of that. And I know they've been hit with injuries. I know they've been hit with inconsistencies. You can't ever escape that. And as a Dodgers fans, we should know they always deal with injuries, and for whatever reason, due to depth, coaching, they always prevail, and still, we're off the cusp of like 4 straight full seasons of them winning 100 plus games. So when they're only on pace to win like 92 or 94 games, it's kind of shocking for us. And when the division race is as close as it is, and it really puts pressure on the team, on the fans, and on the coaches and everybody involved with the team, because it's like we really haven't been in a race like this since 2021, and it really, you kind of get the sense where, all right, at least that year it was just it was a 2-team race. This year it's a 3-team race where, one bad week and then you're starting to talk about we're in like the Atlanta Braves territory where we're teetering in and out of playoff contention with the roster we have. I'm not saying it's going to get that bad. I still believe in this team and that I feel like they still will win the division inevitably, but it's just been a bad stretch of like 2 months of baseball. I think entering the series, I feel like we were all riding high because, you sweep the Pittsburgh Pirates, a team that has pretty much dominated the Dodgers the past 3 seasons. When they went up to Pittsburgh, they pretty much got flat out outplayed. Paul Skeens did his thing, Jared Jones did his thing, and the Dodgers bats just couldn't overcome that. You take 3 games at Dodger Stadium, you end the homestand pretty well, especially after the Phillies series, and then you go to Milwaukee where it was a pretty big series because you already don't have the tiebreaker against the Padres. You already don't have the tiebreaker against the Phillies. You at least want to have the tiebreaker over one of those National League teams that you may end up tying in record-wise. And they ended up accomplishing that goal at least this series in Milwaukee. I think they only needed, 1 win, and then that sealed the deal, and then they ended up getting 2. I'm still a little disappointed because I feel like it should have been a series sweep. Besides the Buehler game, he didn't do too well, but that game was very winnable. And today's game, they kind of just coughed up the lead late, and it really just seems like, someone commented, "What is our identity?" And I just feel like our identity is what Carlos said. We score early and then we're stagnant the rest of the game, and I don't know if they just get on cruise control and they think, hey, we got these 4 early runs and now we can kind of win the rest of the game. Well, you guys can't do that because the starting pitching isn't going deep into games. The bullpen is suffering because of it, and I feel like that's a broken record we've been saying. We've been saying it for months now that the starting pitching just isn't doing their job. And that, if you're going to point to a single reason, you can come at Ohtani, you can come at the offense, it's the pitching. It's the pitching not going deep into games. It's kind of cascading into everything that's happening right now. And even Jack Flaherty, why is he only going 6 innings? Or why is he only going 5 innings? He is a free agent next year, and I know you want him healthy come October, but this guy should be your workhorse. You should be trying to get him to pitch as many innings as you can in the second half to help, alleviate the bullpen, which if he may have went 1 more inning, maybe you're not thinking about Daniel Hudson even entering this game. Maybe you're thinking it's just Kopech going in the 8th, and then the 9th you hand off to somebody else. So I don't know. I just feel like there's a bunch of things that are wrong with the way the team has just been running things the past month. And another thing is just, I don't think they have any guaranteed roles. And the bullpen, I feel like if you don't have a guaranteed closer, you don't have an 8th inning setup guy, and you don't have a long inning relief guy, they kind of just play matchups. I don't think that works. I think in the grand scheme of things, when teams enter the postseason, like the Phillies, the D-backs, they set roles of who they're going to go to. And those are the teams that end up winning those types of games. And the Dodgers, they just seem to can't win those types of games, and it showed in these last 2.
But I want to give Roy Estrada credit because Roy was the one who asked that question. Bleedlos, what is our identity? Who are we? We should be fine-tuning our pitching staff and lineup. Instead, we're still at Costco trying all the free samples, no stability. Princesa, I think he asked a valid question. And I think this is something we've been asking for the last couple of years. What is the identity of the Dodgers? I think everyone kind of looks at the Dodgers as a corporate team. Like, they show up, they do everything They handle their business like no emotion. Yeah, you have a guy like the Oscar every now and then. I think that's the reason why everybody wanted Las Botas de Poder, Randy Rice Arena on this team. What would he do to that clubhouse? I know people were mentioning Tony Pham. Tommy Pham, excuse me, somebody who would really change these things out. When you look at this team, what is the identity? Because Princesa, you go to the games a lot. You know what I hear from fans this year is that it's hard to root for this team. Do you think that's a fair statement, Princesa?
Yes, I do. And I've also heard that. I've also heard that even the experience at Dodger Stadium is not as great as it's been, but that's a different topic for a different Bleed Los Live. Back to the identity. I mean, even during the McCourt years, I've cheered for the Dodgers. So I don't have that problem cheering for the name on the front, okay, of the jersey. But I could see if I'm playing devil's advocate, if I'm using my degree, communication wise, the Dodgers do feel like that corporate team. They do feel like the guys upstairs running things think they're so much smarter than everybody else and that we won't notice, right? And they're just going to plug in players and hope we don't notice, when really maybe a lot of the players, it starts at the top, right? And so there isn't this edge or this urgency or this glue like to win. And maybe they suffer from, well, we can just turn it on, because they've been led to believe, the Dodgers players, that, well, we're so good. Like, we're so good and we're not going to worry about it. And we're going to play with urgency when the playoffs come. Is that what they're thinking? I hope not, because we've seen that story. We've seen that movie. It's awful. I hate that movie. I hate October. So I'm just worried too. Like, I don't ever want to badmouth. I mean, these are professional ball players. They show up. But look at today. Mookie not playing really set off a lot of people in my camp. So is that an example of the corporate way of playing, right? Analytics over everything or whatever. We don't know what the reason, right? Was there an official reason? It's just a day off for Mookie.
I mean, he's coming back from injury. Dave Roberts said they want to work him. They don't want to overwork him. Do you have a problem with? Do you agree? Because I saw those comments too. Fans were not happy that Mookie did not start today. Are you like, hey, why isn't Mookie playing? Do you agree with that?
I'm not saying I don't agree, but I do hear, like, my dad was one of the like why does he have the day off? Like, just really went for Dave Roberts' head. But I'm just saying that could tie into the belief from Dodger fans that these guys don't play with urgency. Do they want to win? And I was over here thinking, well, maybe this is a good thing being only, it's like a fight, right? It's a fight for the National League West. Maybe this is different from the past few seasons. So maybe this is the difference that they need. But then stuff like that happens, or, the major complaints that we see right here with our Bleed Los fam, Roberts putting in, why did he put Kopech in too early and giving Mookie the day off? And I mean, I don't know. I just does feel I can see the complaints being legit when it's like, do they want to win? Do they think there's a switch that they can flip on? Because on paper, this team is superior to a lot of teams, most teams. And it feels like a 500 team. And I know there's injuries. And I feel the positive me wants to put it out there like, well, look how great they are with all these injuries, right? But at the same time, I do see the complaints, and I can see, I'm putting myself in their shoes. I'm not saying it. I had no problem with Mookie. I'm not going to Mookie bash today, but I can see where that's going. Right, guys? I mean, I can see it.
Carlos, a while back, we had talked about that comment that Will Smith, of all people, said that we're the Dodgers. We're the best team in baseball. And I had asked the question, does he really believe that, or is he trying to convince himself of that? When we look at the fact that look, winning fixes everything, right? You see with the Serpientes and the Show Pods and how the fact that they're on this ridiculous winning streak, does that feed into confidence for them? one thing that I found really fascinating, and Oral Hershiser said this on the broadcast today. After the 7th inning, the Dodgers have a record of 55-5. They've lost of those four of the five of, I mean, excuse me, 4 of those 5 losses have come since July. And you look at the show pods and you look at the Serpientes, they're losing in the late innings and they come back and they win. And I can't remember the last time consistently that the Dodgers did that in this. And it's everything you said. The offense just goes through these long stretches where they disappear. But I want to address your Kopech comment. Kopech right now seems to be the best pitcher in that bullpen. Kopech can't pitch 4 innings. And that's what this bullpen is being asked to cover, is 4 innings. To me, I want to go with you on this, Carlos. I feel that not only are the Dodgers competing against other teams, I feel like they're competing against themselves with their philosophy. This reluctance to allow pitchers to go more than 5 innings because you're trying to protect them. We've all seen what's happened this year. They protect these players and they still get hurt. There is no rhyme or reason as to why the Dodgers, the number of injuries in particular to their pitchers compared to other major league teams is alarming. But for me, I know I heard fans losing their mind, and Canelo said it, why not try to steal as many outs as you can to try to limit innings for the relief? I've always believed the more relievers you use, the more chances something will go wrong, because you are expecting 4 or 5 guys to be perfect. Why not send Flaherty out in that 6th inning, see if he can get you 1 out, get you 2 outs, right? And then, and I know the whole thing is, well, what if Flaherty goes in there and then he puts runners on, and then you got to bring a reliever in with runners on? I just feel that during this stretch, maybe they need to go outside of their comfort zone and maybe try to fix things up to try to maybe spur some sort of change, because we are now talking 2 months of this team playing 500 ball.
Well, let me address the Will Smith comment first. If we held this podcast on Tuesday, the Dodgers had the best record in the National League, and they were tied, I believe, for the best record in all of baseball.
Do you think they were the best team in baseball on Tuesday?
Of course not, right?
Okay,
I would be lying.
That's what I'm saying. Let's be honest with
right.
ourselves.
I am being honest, right?
Okay.
But I'm saying the stats show that they were the best team in the National League record-wise. Of course, we know the Padres and Diamondbacks right now are playing incredible baseball. I don't believe they can sustain that through September into the playoffs. There's no way. They're going to go. They got to go into some sort of slump. No, they can't keep hitting like that or pitching like that, whatever they're doing. What I will say about the Flaherty not going through 6. So I took him out at the 5th. He had pitched 93 pitches. He was averaging like about 18. So he would have been like at 111 pitches if he would have pitched. I know we had this conversation with, where's this magic number 100? Where's it derived from? Why is it is it 100? Okay, that's when the arm starts hurting. We know that's not the case, but that's just how it's become in baseball. 100's that magic number. How do the Dodgers get away from that? I don't know. I don't understand how Roberts or Friedman, they don't see that we're just wasting the bullpen. The bullpen's going to be so taxed when we get to the playoffs. Kopech is going to get taxed. He's going to join that group of Hudson, Phillips, and Trinan, and he's going to need a break. So, you know what? I don't know the solution. I could definitely tell you that Buehler wasn't going to pitch further than he had 87 pitches, 3 1/3. There was no way he was going to even make it past the 4th. He would have been over 100, and who knows how many runs he would have allowed. And I know if you guys watched the game, we allowed a lot of runs. I'm sorry, we had a lot of errors. There's 3 errors, and that would have made a difference. Yes, he had 4, 1 earned run. So yeah, that could have made a difference. Sure. And unfortunately, that went against him. I did want to address what you asked about the Dodger feeling our identity. I've been to about almost 30 games this season at Dodger Stadium. And what I will say is some games I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, this is boring. Why? Because they're scoring early, and then for the next 8 innings, there's nothing going on. They're up to bat, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it's like, oh my gosh, man, I'm just gonna go home and just watch it at home. Just beat the traffic. So I mean, I don't want to say the Dodgers' identity is boring, but man, if you go to as many games as I go to, sometimes I'm like, man, what a waste of time today. And I'm a big Dodger fan. I mean, I go a lot, and I'll be there twice next week for sure, and hopefully they'll score some runs. I mean, they've been hitting better. Look, I know that we get it's tough to say this, but I know that we get bombarded when we say bad things. But Shohei Ohtani is batting .210 since the All-Star break.
Here they come.
I'm sorry, man. So I'll read the comments tomorrow.
The showbiz are coming after
That's
you.
fine.
That was Carlos. That was Carlos Alfaro, ladies and gentlemen. Stay away from me. That was Carlos. I'm going to get blamed for this somehow.
Yeah, and these are facts though. He's batting .210. It's not Freeman. He's batting .288. Teoscar batting .300. Betts surprisingly has come back. He's batting .400. He's doing a great job. He took the day off. I guess that was scheduled. Fine, whatever. Lux has stepped it up. He's batting like .364. I'm talking about everybody. These are all averages after the All-Star break. Ohtani's batting .210. This guy, I mean, he's under 300 now. He's going, unless something changes, by next week, by the time we get to Dodger Stadium, he's going to be at 280 something. So, I mean, he's got to figure something out because he's just not producing, especially with runners on base. And I think that's one of the major issues.
You know what, Carlos? I think that's a fair statement. I know the showbiz aren't going to like that. I think it's fair, and I'll tell you why. After Sunday's game, when Teoscar got the game-winning hit, they asked Teoscar, hey, what was your approach? And Teoscar kept saying, I just wanted to go up the middle. I was just looking to get it because a hit wins the game. You don't need a home run. A hit wins the game, and he just wanted to go up the middle. Later on, when we were talking to Roberts, they asked Roberts about Shohei's struggles, and even Roberts himself said, the swing is too long. His swing is getting too long. Maybe he's trying to overcompensate and he's trying to carry the team. But I feel what you just said is fair. We are getting to crunch time. If Mookie can move around the whole infield and sacrifice, I think other teammates can maybe sacrifice some numbers for what's best for the team. Canelo, I know we threw a lot out of there, so you pick whatever you want to chime in on.
Well, I'll go with the Kopech thing first. So if you've watched the team for the past couple of years, you understand what they do. They have singled out Kopech as that high leverage, pitcher. And at that point in time when he went in the 6th inning, it was the heart of the Brewers order, and they believed that was the best situation for him to be in. In my opinion, I don't think that he should be high leverage. I think he should just be your closer, right off the rip. To be honest with you, I think he should just be the 8th inning and 9th inning man. Daniel Hudson, who's been pretty much primarily the closer for the better part of, like a month and a half now, with Phillips being on the injured list and kind of going back and forth, with his consistency. This gets back to my statement earlier, and people on social media have pointed out too, and I'm actually very surprised because it's a very old school way of thinking. There's just no roles in the bullpen. I mean, you should have your lefty specialist, you should have your closer, you should have your high leverage guy, you should have your 7th, 8th, and 9th inning guy, and it all depends on how deep your starter goes into the game to how you plan off that. So I think, Dave putting Kopech in there, it makes sense on paper. I believe he went up against the 2, 3, 4 hitters or the 3, 4, 5 hitters. So, but was that the real high leverage apex point of the game? No, it was the 8th and 9th inning. That was when Kopech, your best reliever, should be in the game, and he is undoubtedly. I said it to a bunch of people, and Phillies fans, I had him on, Jake. He said that if there was one guy he wanted the Phillies to get, it was Kopech. He thought that guy was going to be the steal of the deadline, and I think he is. I think if you look at it, I think he's pitched like 7 1/3 innings, no runs, like 4 hits. He's striking everybody out. Awesome piece to have in the bullpen, but if you're not using him properly, who gives a shit? Like I would rather have him in the 9th inning and closing the game out than where he was at today, but maybe Dave learns from it. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But
wait. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you literally capped what Carlos said, what I've been getting on my text, what Juan, it's just that. So this is the criticism of Dave Roberts, is when he uses his pitchers, when and where and how long. And we get that, why he did that. But Carlos himself said when he's at his 30 games, they score in the beginning and then they just lay down and die in terms of offense. So why not save Kopech for the end of these games, especially when it's so recent? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And maybe Dave Roberts' hands are tied. Maybe it's all coming from upstairs, right?
Yeah, it's a total collaboration effort between everybody. So whatever decisions are being made on the field, I love Dave Roberts, but I know he's not making those decisions by himself. No team
Me too.
does that anymore. So, it makes sense with the numbers, but at the end of the day, if someone who's played, his entire life, sometimes you just have to have a feel with the game, and some managers go with the feel, and I just feel like those managers are the ones that wins type ball games like this. This was a playoff type series, especially these last two games, and that really set the tone of what I see when I turn the TV on and October games are rolling, where they're not hitting with runners in scoring position, they're striking out a lot, and their pitching just doesn't get the job done, especially their high leverage relievers who they relied on all season, that they inevitably overworked. And I feel like we're starting to see that right now with how many pitchers are just getting tired, where you got to manage the bullpen arms because that's a key piece of October, but you can't manage them if the starting rotation is failing you every single day. And that's the huge reason why I wrote the thing about Walker Buehler today, where it's like they need guys that can help them win. Not only is what Buehler is doing not helping them win that game, it's also setting up the whole week for being a failure, because the bullpen has to, basically, yesterday was basically a bullpen game. That's basically what it was. And that kind of set it up for today being a loss, where you're hoping Flaherty goes more than 5 innings, and he can't do that. He struggled that first inning, but from that second inning on, it's pretty dominant. So that's my whole process of thinking today.
Yeah, you wrote 2 articles, and I think they're connected. So I want to go into that, Canelo. You wrote an article about you got a bunch of players that are going to be coming back. We got Brasier, Muncy, and Edman. I think are going to be coming back next week. Excuse me. There are not enough spots for these guys, so there is going to be a numbers crunch. We already saw what happened to Ahmed Rosario. He got DFA'd, and your article on Buehler, I think, factors into that numbers crunch thing as well, because Yamamoto threw a bullpen. Yamamoto's going to throw a simulated game this weekend. So now what? How long do you guys think before maybe Yamamoto, you're going to see him out there on the mound giving a shot and seeing, all right, because they got to find out. They're in a really tough spot because they're in a dogfight now. So they got to worry about even getting into the playoffs. But not only that, at the same time, they got to figure out who they can use in the playoffs. So Canelo, let's start off with the numbers crunch. And if you want to, you already hinted at it with Buehler. Is Buehler one of those guys that he might be on the chopping block?
Yeah, let's just kick it off with Buehler, where, it sucks that everything that's happening to him, usually after the second Tommy John surgery, the first season coming back is always the worst. The Dodgers usually, in previous seasons, they have the leeway to kind of, work with it. Hey, we have a 9 or 15 game lead. Let's just throw you out there, get your starts, get your confidence up. Right now, the Dodgers don't have the luxury of doing that. They can't bet on Buehler on who he was. They have the Buehler that they have right now, and that is a starter who doesn't have any type of command. That's showed by his career high walk rate and his whip that's at like 1.6, which is the highest of his career. That in turn allows him to throw more pitches. That more pitches allows him to go, not as deep into games as you would want. I think we're asking the bare minimum for this guy. The writers for the website Dodgers Beat, we were saying, well, what's our thought process for Buehler today? 3 innings. And I was like, yeah, I would say that's acceptable. And, the start in Milwaukee, on the line, it looked okay, 4 runs, 1 earned. But if you watched the first 2 1/3, 2 2/3 inning, you were like, man, he's getting so lucky. The Kevin Kiermaier play that Carlos mentioned earlier, that pretty much saved his entire first inning after walking the bases loaded. And Buehler, I feel like, has done that on more than one occasion. I think he's walked the bases loaded more than once this season, which is surprising to say from him. But yeah, I don't know. His rehab starts, they didn't look sharp. His time in the majors hasn't looked sharp at all. And the Dodgers kind of have to have a tough conversation with, Buehler and themselves, where if he is actively setting you up to lose not only his start, but the rest of the week because you're already overworking your bullpen, they have the 4th most innings pitched since the All-Star break. That's not a good recipe for success. And another player that I feel like they have to have a tough conversation with, and I know he had a hit today and an RBI, is Jason Hayward. Because I feel like Andy Pages is playing, his bat is playing well enough to stay on the roster to be at least a bench bat if Mookie Betts is really going to be, the everyday right fielder. Jason Hayward, he's a veteran. They have to have a conversation with him where is he really giving the team the best foot forward? Is it really setting them up for success down the line? And you look at who's coming back. Max Muncy, Tommy Edman are going to be activated off the 60-day IL, so they have to clear off another roster spot on the 40-man. They already did one with the Ahmed Rosario DFA. They have to clear off another one. I think we all can kind of say Nick Ahmed's days in Dodger Blue are probably numbered right now because that would probably be the most logical move. After that, they would still have to clear at least one spot on the 26-man roster to make room for both players. And I'm looking at, do you option Andy Pages, who has 2 minor league options left? Do you DFA, Kevin Kiermaier? Well, how do you do that where he's starting to hit a little bit better and he looks awesome out there in center field? Do you phantom IL Jason Hayward? What do you do with that, position player pool? Because at the end of the day, Max Muncy and Tommy Edman hit a home run today in his rehab assignment, they just look like better bat options than, Jason Hayward out there. Once Ryan Brasier is activated this weekend, I assume Brent Honeywell's the odd man out where they'll probably DFA him to create not only a spot on the 40-man, but also the 26-man. If Blake Trinan comes back, what are you going to do with that one? I assume Michael Grove is probably odd man out. Unfortunately for the Dodgers, when Yamamoto comes back, I think that's more of a September move, and rosters expand in September, so they get the one extra spot. In my article today with Buehler, I really just don't know what the Dodgers are going to do. I do know what the Dodgers are going to do. They're going to still let him get his starts out there until September. And if it's not working come September, then they're going to hope that Yamamoto comes back. And then hopefully they're not, singing the same song, with what they've seen with Buehler all season long of someone coming back from injury. But, I really think if they really want to show that they care and show that they want to win right now because they're in the middle of the division race, they either have to have a conversation with Buehler and say, look, it's not working. You're going to go back on the IL and we will not see you until you hit free agency and you probably are leaving. They can either think about DFAing him and releasing him, or they can place him on waivers and a team can pick him up for, and take the rest of his contract and then he can eat ing somewhere else. I think at the end of the day, if they were going to do one, it would probably be the IL because the Dodgers usually respect their veterans and people that have played for the team. And if both can come to an agreement on that, I feel like they would. Because I feel like right now, Buehler's just hurting his case in free agency because now I feel like at the end of the day, he's just going to have to take a 1-year deal to prove it somewhere. So it's going to be interesting, but I just don't feel confident with Buehler even stepping foot on a mound. I would just automatically pencil those in as, losses unless the offense is just going to score, 6 or 7 runs, which they've shown that they can't do consistently.
Princesa, I want to ask you the tough questions because I know you're going to bring it. I know you're going to bring in the fire, Princesa. So Greg Bergman of ESPN LA earlier today said that Buehler should be a candidate to DFA. So here are my 2 questions for you, Princesa. Would you DFA Walker Buehler? And would you piss off Federico by getting rid of his best friend? He's called him his best friend, Jason Hayward, because I know you're heartless. I know that you would go in there and be like, you don't care. We want to hear from you, Princesa. Tell us.
That is not me. I'm sunshine. I am not heartless. But I did mention at the beginning of this live, we need to play for the name on the front of the jersey. And I have no sentimental value or connection to Buehler. I do like Hayward. We've interviewed him a few times on the blue carpet. Very cool guy. I like the veteran leadership. I do believe he brings that, which is right now at this moment in time, more valuable than what Walker Buehler's bringing. I don't want to seem heartless. Buehler deals when he's okay, when he's not broken, but we don't have time to wait for that to happen. We don't know if it's going to happen. Walker Buehler might not ever be Walker Buehler. And unfortunately, he did not earn the cred that, say, someone like Kershaw deserves. So, yes, I am. If that has to happen, I mean, Freddie Freeman's a professional, right? Everyone just talks about how he's the consummate professional baseball player. He's going to be okay if they have to put Hayward on a phantom IL or whatever else you guys suggested. Like, I'm saying let's win. We have to win now. I want to get hot leading into October, and this schedule that the Dodgers have upcoming is not friendly, not in the same way that the guys chasing the Dodgers, their schedule is pretty easy, which Canelo mentioned earlier. So in comparison. So to answer your question, bye. See ya. Like, someone else here said, buy your Walker Buehler bobblehead and sleep with it. He's got to go. Ouch.
Princesa, yeah, okay. You're in that dugout. You're in that organization. Don't you expect, hey, you got to do what's best for the team? And if those decisions are not being made, what's best for the team, how would that make you feel as a player?
I'm sorry, what? So
if you see Walker Buehler's being sent out there again, Hayward's being sent out there again, and it's just like, guys, we have to win games. Like, this is my only shot of like getting a World Series. Or also, let's not forget, Mookie and Federico are getting older. I don't think that they can waste this year and go, hey, you know what? It's just too many injuries. And it could be true. It just may be too many injuries to overcome. But if you're a player in that dugout, don't you want that sense of urgency coming from the organization that, hey, you guys need to do, like, we can't afford to keep throwing this guy out there if he's not keeping us in games, if he's not giving us a fighting chance to win a game.
Yes. And again, I think it's the timing. I mean, Carlos, you said you've already gone to 30 games. If this were to happen where they're trying to work out Buehler's brokenness, if they did this earlier, they'd have time. I mean, it looks like them betting on Gavin Lux is working out, but it's not that time of the season. We can't now. I'm just saying, Juan, the timing is not great for keeping these guys around. If the decision has to be made to win now, and the urgency has to come from the top, because we talked about that earlier. Like, there's no switch. There's no turning it on, especially in October. The Dodgers have not proven that there's a switch. If anything, it's the opposite when October comes around. Every October, I break up with the Dodgers like a toxic boyfriend. And then I take them back. Like, it's going to be different this time. In the spring, I'm like hearts in my eyes. And then here we are again in October. So I feel like, yes, these decisions have to be made. And we're not trying to hurt people's feelings. I want everybody to work. I want everyone to eat. But the Dodgers need to win now. Am I wrong? Sorry.
Gambler, you're a season ticket holder. I mean, don't you have a say? Like, can't you go into those meetings and go, hey, I pay a lot of money for the seats, and I mean, you've already said it's boring, but in terms of the situation, what are you doing with these next roster moves, Gambler? Because look, Canelo makes a compelling argument about Bacchus' bat, but he really makes me nervous defensively out there. And we saw the 3 errors that led to them losing a game. Like, be as it may, I don't trust Kiermaier's bat at all. But that guy defensively has proven to be a difference maker. What are you doing with the upcoming roster moves, Gambler?
Well, we know that Nick Ahmed needs to play on the Rockies and the Padres to play on all National League West teams. So he's going to get DFA'd. Then, I mean, the second spot, look, we were talking about identity. the word that comes to mind with the Dodgers is compassionate. They're compassionate, especially to their older players. I would be shocked if Buehler gets DFA'd. I would be shocked. I think they'll do an IL for the rest of the season and send him down, and then that's it. And I don't think they'll re-sign him next year. I just don't see them cutting him. It would be a sad day for Dodgers. I remember watching him play against the Rockies on game 163 back in 2000, I don't know, like 16 or something. That was
18.
great. He was
18.
He was atop of his game, and that was awesome, but he's not that guy anymore. I think right now, it's send him down to the minors and let him work things out for himself for next season and get himself a contract. The outfield, Pages is actually hitting. Yeah, his defense is horrible in center field. It's bad. It's going to cost you games. I mean, look at the catch that Kiermaier made at Dodger Stadium in center field. We know that Pages wouldn't make that catch. If the game is on the line, that needs to be made. So I wouldn't send him down. I have to agree with Cody. I just don't see them doing it. Hayward would be the guy I would send down, or like IL him for a little bit, or DFA would be shocking. But that's my pick too, to send him down. And then Hudson is the other guy that I remember early in the season. I was surprised he made the team. He wasn't even doing that good in spring training. But the Dodgers are compassionate to their loyal, players who've been playing for a long time, veterans. They have this utmost respect for them. So he wasn't doing so well. He made the team. He wasn't so sharp. He picked it up in the middle of the season, and now he's falling back down. So, I mean, to me, he's the man out too. I mean, I would send him down for IL, give him some rest, see what he looks like when he comes back. And if he looks the same, then he shouldn't be on the playoff roster. So those are tough decisions that they're going to have to be made. And so my three guys would be Nick Ahmed, Hayward, and Hudson. Go down and bring Brasier, Edman, and Muncy back.
Canelo and La Princesa have already brought up, their schedule is real, especially in this month of August. And one of the things is we no longer have the unbalanced schedule where they get to play each other 18 times. The Dodgers only have one more series with the Serpientes, and they only have one more series with the Showpods. Now, the Showpods and the Serpientes do play each other a couple more times. So the hope is they beat each other up. And then once that happens, the Dodgers can get on some sort of roll. But we started off the show saying, well, they're going to pull it. I don't know, because 2 months now we keep waiting for them to flip the switch. And I thought when they win 5 games in a row, okay, here it comes. Especially the first 2 games against Milwaukee, I'm like, okay, maybe it was the injuries. Maybe it was getting these players healthy back, and this is how this squad is going to look. But then you see how they've played these last 2 games, and it's very disappointing. Now, who knows what's going to happen in St. Louis, because it's the Cardinals. The Cardinals can be horrible, and the Dodgers will always find a way to just screw the pooch in St. Louis. It's history there. The patron saint of the Bleed Lows podcast, Jose Ayala, mi amigo. Let's go, Jose, with a super chat here, $5. Thank you very much, Jose. Jose says they did not spend over $1 billion to win a World Series later than now. It is this year and not next year. Dodgers have that dog in them. Look, hopefully they do. Like I said, after St. Louis, they're coming home. They get the Marineros. They have a 9-game homestand with the Marineros, the Rays, and then the Orioles come into town. I hope you guys are right in terms that the Showpods and the Serpientes can't keep this up. But like I said, I saw the Serpientes do this last year, and they were able to carry it into the postseason. And I think the Showpods run on spite. But not only that, let's give credit where credit is due. Those moves that they made with that bullpen sure seems to be helping them. And for them to come back, Jackson Merrill, that dude is giving Paul Skeens a run for his money for Rookie of the Year. So let's give credit where credit is due. I wish the team that I root for was playing the way those two teams were playing. But they're not, unfortunately. And they got now it's the clock is running. They got a month and a half. It's not 2 months anymore. It's a month and a half to try to figure things out. Before we wrap things up, I do want to, there was a story that broke today regarding this rule about Canelo. Can you set it up? Because I know you got all the facts.
Yeah. So obviously I feel like if you haven't seen it, it's Rob Manfred's trying to implement some more rules into baseball. I didn't get entirely into the article, but pretty much the gist of it is that they understand that there's a problem with starting pitching in today's game. They understand that a lot of people and fans, including myself, where I've made my opinions very much known, where when starters don't go deep into games, it's very hard to watch. It's very hard to watch on TV. It's very hard to watch if if you're at the game and you're there to watch, not there to to drink and party like I usually do when most of the games in Philly. But it's just hard. And I understand what they're trying to do. I understand what they're trying to fix. But I think if you're just trying to say, a 6-inning minimum for pitchers, it's just so unrealistic if you see how many pitchers are coming up now. I don't think there's more than probably one starter in the Dodgers system that can probably go, 7 clean innings. They're not trained that way. They're not brought up that way. I've gone back and forth with multiple people, multiple Dodgers accounts, and I understand what the game is and what it's became. And I understand that baseball doesn't agree with it. They don't like what these teams have done. While they are pumping the most out of the players, it's not a good product on the field for, in terms of TV and in terms of ratings, because at the end of the day, what do we like to see? I like a good old-fashioned pitcher's duel. I don't know if anyone got to catch the game between the Giants and the Braves the other day. Chris Sale versus Blake Snell. That was an ultimate game, dude. They 1-0 in extra innings. That was the type of postseason game that you don't really see too often right now. And I know we all like, chicks dig the long ball. Everyone likes offense. But, at the end of the day, pitching rules baseball. There's nothing better than a game or a pitcher taking in, the entire game and going deep into the game. And you just don't see that anymore. There was a time where, even when I was growing up, watching Clayton Kershaw, it was guaranteed that he would go at least 7-8 innings every single time. Now pitchers that come up at his same age that he came up, they're required to go hopefully maybe 4 or 5, which is just, in my opinion, that's bad for the game. But what Rob Manfred and baseball is trying to do, I think that's just a way to have, the Players Association just immediately go on strike. So I'm interested to see what you guys think. I don't think it's going to happen because I just don't think the logistics of it make any sense. I don't know how you can implement something like that and that extreme because it kind of changes the whole landscape of baseball and pitching.
I just want to make sure that our fam here understands. So what they're proposing to do, MLB, is starters will be required to pitch 6 innings. And there's 3 ways you can get around that, right? They have to get hurt and they have to go on the IL. But you can't just fake an injury. So it's the kind of injury where like, are you sure? Because now you have to go on the IL. You have to throw over 100 pitches. And then what's the third?
If you give up more than like 4 runs.
Yeah, 4 earned runs.
Thank you. So, I mean, a lot of people said the pitch clock wouldn't work. And then they have the robo umpires down in the minor leagues. So this would start in the minor leagues as well. You don't think, I mean, I feel like though the pitch clock worked in speeding the game along, it's injured a bunch of players, but some say, but I don't know. I just feel like baseball's always trying to catch up to NFL, the granddaddy of American sports. I could see them doing something like this, and I don't think they care about the fans, especially Dodgers fans. We show up, right? So I don't know. What do you guys think? You think that's going to happen? Gambler,
well, I want to hear from you.
Man, you know me. I'm an old school baseball kind of guy, man. The game with all these new stupid rules has already been ruined. So they want to implement this one. Go ahead. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. I mean, Buehler, we just talked about. He threw 83 pitches, so he wouldn't have made it to the 4th. So he'll qualify to be removed. Flaherty today. So what happens when they hit 100? Then they can take him out right when they hit 100. So he would have came in at the 6th, threw 7 pitches to the next batter. He's out. Next, it's a dumb rule, but so are all the rules they make now. The pickoff at first base, the ghost runner at second base. I know some people like that rule, but it's just that's the way the game's going. And what can we do? If you're a baseball purist and you like the old rules, people don't even want to hear your opinion anymore because it's just old baseball way of thinking. The game's definitely changed. The pitch clock is how we were talking about earlier, is the pitch clock the reason why River Ryan got hurt, right? He said that he got hurt because of that was a cause of his injury. And then last time I mentioned something about throwing 130 pitches, some guy made a comment, I forget, they said, oh, it's the spin of the ball. And then I read somewhere, okay, let the guys use stuff in their hand so that they don't have to spin it so hard so they can grip it better and they don't have to hurt themselves. Or then I heard today about lifting the mound up again a little bit so the pitchers can get some more, I guess, I don't know if they would give them leverage or something, but the game is changing so much and it's just so many changes. I can't even keep up anymore. It's like, whatever, do what you want. Manfred's there for the owners. He's not there for the fans. I watched a great documentary about the Astros and the cheating scandal. And I think it was Bud Selig. And he said that the owners told him straight out, he goes, I think it was him. I don't know if it was him or the previous commissioner. And they told him, hey, your job is to make us money. And that's what the commissioner's there to do, to make the MLB owners money. It's not for your fans. We think it's for us, for our benefit and the players too. It's not. It's for the owners to make a lot of money. And that's it.
It's fascinating because River Ryan made the comment. I feel like he really went out of his way to mention the pitch clock in his post-game interview. And I want to throw to La Princesa. Princesa, in regards to the pitch clock, I know you have, I don't think there's any what?
Empirical evidence that links the pitch clock to the uptick in injuries and pitching. But there was someone else here who just brought up the sticky stuff. Is that a reason why pitchers are being injured more? And I'm just throwing it out there. I don't have the evidence in front of me. I'm sure Cody would know, way more than I would about the stats and whatnot. But I agree with you, Juan. River Ryan went out of his way to mention the pitch clock in his post-game interview. And now he's having Tommy John surgery. So I don't know if you need the numbers, but doesn't it feel like it's not helpful? And these young guys are being asked to throw so hard, or maybe not asked, but do they not have or own any other pitches? Like the fast, like the seams, like just like every pitch has to be 95, 100 miles per hour, So
that right there,
pressure on them,
That right there, Princesa, is my point. I think this whole idea of forcing starters, and look, anybody who's listened to me long enough knows I subscribe. You give me 6 innings, you give me 6 innings. I don't care if you gave up 6 or 7 runs. Yeah, I'm not killing my bullpen. You're giving me 6 innings. This whole idea to me is a drastic measure that is being taken to force major league teams to change their approach to how they handle their pitchers. It sucks that it takes them to have to do this. When Nolan Ryan was working for the Rangers, he tried changing the culture and he lost. Now, my thing is this. The pitch clock, at least at the major league level, is only 2 years old. Pitchers were getting hurt before the pitch clock. What I saw this weekend were former major leaguers, Nomar in the post game on Sportsnet LA was saying velocity. This whole philosophy of throw as hard as you can for as long as you can does not work. Matt Kemp, when he was at Dodger Stadium and we got a chance to talk to him on Sunday, even Matt Kemp said it's the velocity. These guys are throwing way hard. And I thought Matt Kemp made a really interesting point, and he said velocity never bothered me as a player. It's the guys who knew how to pitch. The guys who knew how to pitch, those are the guys that gave Matt Kemp the hardest time. So I think this whole idea, and this is years away, by the way, guys, because they, like La Princesa said, this needs to be implemented in the minor leagues. like Canelo said, the union has to sign off on this. But for me, the whole point of this is to force teams to change their philosophy on this, because the whole idea is if you know you got to go 6 innings, you're going to pace yourself. You're not going to be throwing 100 miles per hour every pitch. Like Nomar says, throw as hard as you can for as long as you can. It's look, Manfred is in a really tough position because of what Carlos said. He has to satisfy the owners. At the same time, this has become glaringly obvious that there is a problem with the number of injuries. And I think he's getting pressure from people in the game to say, you have to do this. You have to do something about this. This is getting out of control. And look, whether this is right or wrong, if the Dodgers don't make the playoffs, if the Dodgers get eliminated in the first round, you best believe the first things coming out of Friedman's mouth in his post game is going to be about the injuries, that we just couldn't overcome the injuries. It would have been, I would have loved to have seen the team that I put together, if it was healthy, what it could have done. So I think the fact that the team who spent the most amount of money in the offseason, a team with one of the highest profiles in Major League Baseball, if they don't make the playoffs, it's going to look bad for Manfred. It's really, it's a bad look. As much as people hate on the Dodgers, if the Dodgers don't make the playoffs, it's a bad look for Major League Baseball, because what it does is then it makes other teams go, I don't need to spend. Look how much money the Dodgers spent, and they didn't even make the playoffs. I can keep, doing my socialism, because in Major League Baseball, there isn't a problem with socialism. I can take money from everyone else. Nobody has a problem with socialism in baseball, but in real life, socialism is very bad, very bad. But in Major League Baseball, it is very, very good to me, because I will steal money from the Dodgers. The Dodgers will willingly share money with me. The Yankees will willingly share money with me. And therefore, I don't have incentive to share, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my team to Vegas. And then for 4 years, I'm going to make a team play in a minor league stadium. Anyways, I digress.
I feel like that would never happen.
That would never happen. It's a very complicated issue. But I think Canelo is right. I think that battle, it has a very, very long road. I don't think we're going to see that anytime soon, but it is them, I think, just really feeling the pressure that the injuries have just been really, really bad for the sport.
And I just don't think there's a clear-cut answer to fix it. I think this is one of the most difficult conversations, because we've already talked about it a couple times the past couple weeks, where I don't necessarily agree with all the philosophies in terms of pitching that the Dodgers teach. And, I've had a lot of people, I even had the director of Driveline reply to my tweet, pretty much explaining, what they do there. And it's like, it goes to what everybody in the comments is saying. Everybody's chasing velocity, spin rate, movement. These are all things that just strain your forearm, that strain your UCL. And the Dodgers, they took the Rays approach, where we're going to pump the most baseball out of you for the 3 or 4 years. And then when we're done with you, we're going to trade you before you hit arbitration. And I think Rob Manfred and the owners and other people around baseball have caught on to that and realized it's not really a sustainable, plan if you really want to grow the sport of baseball. And when I sent you the video of the Royals GM when he talked about it, and it goes a lot deeper than just Major League Baseball. And I've seen it up close in person. These kids are learning this stuff in middle school. These kids are learning it in high school. These kids are throwing all year long. Even on the East Coast, where we have winter for half a year, when I played, there was no such thing as an indoor complex. Now there's like 3 or 4 in just my state where kids can go there, throw bullpens, do inside league tournaments, and they just are throwing every single month, every single week, and they're throwing harder. They're chasing movement. Tyler Glasnow even mentioned in an interview, I think it was with Chris Rose or somebody, I think it was with Chris Rose, where he was saying, if I had to risk getting Tommy John and then getting seen by a major league team and getting a contract, then I would get Tommy John. And I think that's how 95% of people think that are playing actively in the sport. And until you fix that, you're not going to fix the problem. And I just, like I said, glad it's not my battle to fix. I'm just watching the damn thing. So,
All right, guys. Before we wrap things up, for any new people on the chat who are not familiar, once again, we have what we give is the Danny Duffy Award at the end of every show. The Danny Duffy Award is the award that we give to the person who catches the most strays, whether they're intended or unintended. They get the award. So this is your last chance. If you have a nominee for the Danny Duffy Award, put it in the chat, and we're going to start voting. I know Manfred has been nominated for the Danny Duffy Award so far. Walker Buehler has been nominated for the Danny Duffy Award. I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds. Go ahead and list anybody else out if you want Buehler, or if it's just between Buehler and Manfred, then you vote who you want. Dave Roberts, we got another nominee, Dave Roberts. Okay, so we got 3. All right. This is just for nominees before I start calling. Okay, 15 more seconds before I start calling it. The Dodgers, Doom Sal with the Dodgers offense. Okay, that's a very good nominee. We got Manfred. Okay, here we go. All right, I've closed it off. All right, now it's time to vote. Of the nominees for the Danny Duffy Award, you guys tell me who you're voting for. Is it Rob Manfred, Dave Roberts, Walker Buehler, or the Dodgers offense? Of those 4 nominees, who is winning the Danny Duffy Award? I'm giving you guys 40 seconds to vote. Starting now, Val Reyes is the first vote. He's got Roberts. Dave Roberts is in the lead, ladies and gentlemen. If no one else votes, Dave Roberts is going to win the Danny Duffy Award. So here we go. 25 more seconds. No one else is in the chat.
My boy Dave Roberts do.
We got Roy Estrada. Okay, we got a Manfred vote. We got a Roberts vote. Dennis Gonzalez with Roberts again. So Roberts is up 3-1. 13 seconds left. The offense gets its first vote. It's 3-1-1. All right, here we go. 5 seconds. Doomsal might be the last vote. So far, it looks like it's going to be Manfred coming close with 2. All right. And Roberts, it's over. It's over. We called it. The last vote is for the American Dream, Sports Empire, because he's a son of a plumber. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time, I think this season, Dave Roberts wins the Danny Duffy Award. So congratulations to Dave Roberts. Again, for those of you joining us for the very first time, make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. Not only do we have podcasts, but we also have coverage. We cover the team. We're at the stadium. We were at the stadium in Milwaukee giving you guys coverage. We're going to have coverage in St. Louis, where they're covering the team post-game and pre-game. And then when they come back to Dodger Stadium, we are also giving you that coverage. Plus, we have interviews. Babyface interviewed Kenley Jansen. La Princesa de Picolandia is hanging out with Oral Hershiser at Legends. You can watch all those interviews on our YouTube channel. So make sure you're subscribed. Hit that notification button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us comments. We love engaging with you guys. For La Princesa de Picolandia, Carlos the Gambler, and Canelo. Babyface was here the whole time. He was just in the background. We want to thank you for joining us. And again, for all you new people, if you are an avid listener to this show, you are officially a sangron. So start referring to yourself as a sangron. This episode of the Bleed Lows podcast has been brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. Nos vemos. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.